Howdy, everyone. Welcome to Seaside Chat number 9. Today, I would like to welcome our speaker, Nikki Fitzgerald. She's our extension agent in Chambers and Jefferson County, and she's going to talk to us about feral hogs and their effect on our watersheds. Thank you so much for coming, Nikki.
Thanks for having me. Yes, I'm Nikki Fitzgerald. I am the Chambers in Jefferson County's Coastal and Marine Extension Resources agent for those two counties. I do many different things along with working with shrimpers and youth and anything along our coast. Today, I'm going to be talking about feral hogs and their effects on our water quality and diseases and different things that they have. So I'm going to try to go ahead and share my slide. And then I think we have a little question we're going to do before we get started, correct?
Yes, I just sent it out.
So if you don't mind answering this question real quick. All right, is everybody hopefully answered? And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here in a second. Okay, so let's get started. If I can. Give me a second. I'm trying to figure out the controls on this thing. There it goes. Okay, so today we're going to be looking at the different water quality in Texas and how these feral hogs are actually negatively impacting our water quality, how they're spreading diseases in our areas, and some best management practices that our landowners or local people can use to help prevent the contamination of our waterways. Okay, so water quality in Texas. First of all, everybody needs to understand that, you know, we only have a certain amount of water on this earth, and we're not getting any more. So, and another thing everybody needs to understand that there's not one person or not one industry or one activity to actually blame for our water quality in Texas. It's all of our responsibilities to take care of our water. But a lot of what we've learned over the years that, you know, wildlife is a major component to what our water quality is, and feral hogs is a major threat to that. And landowners also need to understand ways that they can help with the situation and help alleviate the contamination that these feral hogs are actually impacting our waterways, like best management practices. So the feral hogs actually came to Texas back in the 1800s from the Spanish explorers. They brought them over as a source of like livestock, and when times got tough, they would abandon their livestock, and over time these hogs became feral. These numbers are just estimates. I've got these numbers off of our AgriLife website. They estimate that we are home to anywhere from 2 to 3.5 million feral hogs in Texas. And if you don't have feral hogs in your area in Texas, you probably will pretty soon. I was talking to a guy the other day that said 5-6 years ago, he never saw a feral hog, and now his land's so inundated with it that he can't keep up with it. These feral hogs are causing millions of dollars in damages to our agricultural lands. They're millions of dollars to our normal landowner and subdivisions. Like they're in our area, they're actually affecting subdivisions in different places that you would never see. And they say that 79% of Texas is considered feral hog habitat. And like I said, if you don't have a feral hog infestation in your area yet, don't count your chickens yet, because they could possibly be there soon. One of the biggest things is feral hogs contribute to the bacteria to our water bodies. 57% of tested hogs contain E. coli strains that could actually infect humans. And 86% of these tested hogs contain E. coli strains that could actually infect our livestock and other animals drinking from these waterways. There was a study that was done on Plum Creek where it showed that 537 hogs were removed over 2 years, and it resulted in a 48% reduction in E. coli. And then in my area where we live in Chambers County, we just got through doing the Double Bayou Watershed, and our sheriff actually was helping with trapping and getting rid of the hogs in those areas. And with that, with AgriLife Extension and our sheriff and our county and stuff, they were able to actually get rid of 402 hogs out of the Double Bayou Watershed, which equated to like 43% of a bacteria reduction. So that's a big reduction in just feral hogs. The waterway is actually located on an area that's got a lot of agriculture. At first, they looked at agriculture, they looked at septic systems, but what they found is the majority of the bacteria found in that watershed was from the feral hogs and from the bird population. So in addition to water quality, if we remove feral hogs from our area, which you're never going to completely remove all of the feral hogs in Texas, but we can help reduce these numbers. If we can reduce the number of feral hogs, we can also decrease the erosion and nutrient losses in our soil. We can decrease the turbidity that's happening in our streams and rivers because hogs could tend to, they actually gravitate toward water areas, especially during the summer. And it'll increase the health of our riparian areas. If we remove hogs, we can hopefully be able to contain more grasses and stuff without them rooting it up. Reduce the spread of invasive species. Our hogs are moving invasive plants and different things in areas that they're not supposed to be because they move quite a bit of land over a short amount of time. Sometimes these guys can travel pretty far. Reducing the amount of hogs improves the health of our watersheds. It decreases the potential of disease transmission, and it increases plant cover as much as 80% or bare ground by 90%. So that's a lot of big values and big benefits of reducing hog populations in our areas. So the way they're negatively impacting our water quality, these guys are rooting up our riparian areas. They are damaging the grasses. Feral hogs actually lack sweat glands. So that is the reason why they gravitate toward the water body, especially, like I said, during the summers. Now, during the winter time, they tend to travel a lot more because it's cooler and they don't have to be right there by the water system. But most of them will waller right there in the middle of our water bodies. They'll root, they'll cause erosions. And of course, they're defecating and spreading diseases. So the value of clean water in Texas to agriculture. So agriculture is impacted when we have impacted water quality. So one study they found was that livestock with better water quality produces 20% more animal gain than livestock that have access to impaired water. And if you think about that with humans, obviously, if livestock is being impacted by water quality, it's impacting us as humans. You know, we typically filter our water and clean it before it gets to our houses. But if the water is already cleaner before it goes through all those filtering systems, then we'll have even better water. So clean water is vital to agriculture. It's vital to irrigating our crops. Raising our livestock is vital to humans. It's vital to our fiber systems. And these feral hogs are contributing a lot to our waterways by impairing them. Like they're destroying the riverbanks. They're just adding the bacteria and stuff. We're going to look at that. Because water is so important, we actually have the Water Quality Act that was started in 1972 and revamped in 1977. And These help protect our waterways, require states to set standards, regulate wastewater discharge, and basically maintain a good characteristics for our water foundations. So some of the impairments that we look at in our watersheds is our bacteria. And as you can see on this slide, bacteria seems to be the biggest impairment. Dissolved oxygen is another one. Toxicity, pH, dissolved solids, and nitrate and nitrite impairments. Again, if you look on this slide right here, this picture, you can see bacteria is one of the bigger things that are impairing our waterways. It's not just our feral hogs causing those waterways to have all of that bacteria. You have your leaky septic systems, and you have runoff coming from other different things that's causing this issue too. These are some watershed protection plans that are in my area. There are a whole bunch that are there across the state of Texas. We have some Sea Grant specialists that actually help implement these up and down the coast of Texas. We have a lot of AgriLife specialists that do this. By the way, I'm not a feral hog specialist by any chance. We have a lot of feral hog specialists that are in AgriLife and extension services too. So all these resources are online. But these are just some that are in our area that we're starting to, that we have put in place or implementing or planning. And then of course in Jefferson County, we're starting on the Hildebrandt Natchez watershed also with the planning process. So here's a good look of the impaired bodies of water in Texas. As you can see, there's a lot of red on that map. So we really need to start working on helping ways that we can manage this. One way that our guys look is at our total maximum daily load. Basically, that's the amount of daily load of bacteria that waterway can handle before it's considered impaired. So those can fluctuate on the different waterways. So that's what TMDL means. And the development and implementation of a watershed protection plan may be a more viable approach to achieving restoration of water quality than through the establishment of the whole TMDL. So again, like I said, feral hogs are not the only ones contributing to the bacteria in the waterways or the E. coli numbers. We have wastewater treatment plants that are not up to code, leaky septic systems, pet waste from neighborhoods and other places, runoff, wildlife, deer, rodents, birds, and of course the feral hogs in agriculture, livestock. I thought this was an interesting chart that I found on AgriLife. Basically, and I'm gonna see if my mouse will, if you look at the amount of pounds of fecal matter compared to the amount of coliforms in there, you can see that even though the feral hogs are not producing the most amount of fecal matter, their fecal matter contains the most fecal coliforms or bacteria in it. So I thought that was a very interesting thing to look at. Your beef cattle is not as much as what a feral hog has compared to like deer and turkeys and chickens and horses and stuff. Many landowners want to know, do feral hogs have diseases that cause concern? And the answer is yes. There are 50 known communicable diseases that feral hogs can spread. There's 3 diseases that a lot of people really pay attention to, and that's the swine brucellosis, the Sweater rabies, and I probably might be pronouncing this wrong, but the tularemia. All of these could either affect our cattle, or they could be transmitted into humans, or vice versa there. So yeah, you can get diseases from hogs, and they can spread these diseases several different ways into our waterways. They can spread them by actually you touching them. So one thing I want to point out is if you're hunting these feral hogs and you do kill one, it is very advised to make sure you protect yourself and wear gloves, because you could catch a disease from one of these guys when processing them. And to make sure, and people do eat them, you make sure you cook them before you eat them, cook them thoroughly, because you can get diseases that way too. But a lot of times swines will spread diseases by the fecal contamination in the water, and then livestock could drink from that water. Contact between hogs, nose to nose, and of course wildlife. And like I said, if you are a hunter and you kill a hog, to make sure, if you are processing, to wear protective gear so you don't actually catch one of these diseases. So some best management practices that a landowner could follow to help control the fecal matter spread or the bacteria spread into our waterways is basically the landowners are the first line of defense, because you have your private property and you obviously can hunt these guys. You can help reduce the feral hog population by trapping them and hunting them, or finding some service that will come get them. I think Texas Animal Health Commission's one that will actually come get rid of the hogs for you. You can reduce feral hog damage by fixing the damage, by planting more riparian areas, by fencing off areas. We're going to go over this in just a second. And hopefully keeping hogs out of waterways by fencing off waterways and things like that, so that they don't get in there and put fecal contamination in there. So one way you can help do this is to understand or recognize signs of feral hogs, and if they're affecting your land, like how to look to see if they're actually there. One, you can actually see them go across your land. We, in my area, actually had about 80 go across my backyard at one time, and I'm not exaggerating on that number. You can know the voluntary best management practices that can help reduce fecal contamination of the Texas streams. And if you get on, again, like Healthy Streams Texas, they have a lot of different information on how to do this stuff. And the most effective time to control feral hogs is when they first appear on your land. So if you don't have any now and you're starting to see signs of them, that's the best time to get a control of them before they get out of control. And there are several agencies involved in feral hog management, and I have a slide on that will list those here in a minute. So here's some signs that you can recognize. Rooting is the biggest one. As you can see in that picture there, that whole field was rooted up. I've seen them completely damage hundreds of acres of hay fields and rice fields and in normal subdivisions. Like I've seen a whole subdivision's like property get ruined because they come and root it up. Crop damage, obviously. They can destroy, like I said, hundreds of acres of rice in like one night. It's pretty crazy. And then of course you can look for the actual place where they wallow or lay down or bed. And like I said, they tend to gravitate toward water. So if you have a marshy area or water area or riverbank or stream or something like that, more than likely that's where you're going to see them bedding down or wallowing at night. You can look for their tracks or droppings. This is a picture of what a hog track would look like. They have the two little dew claws on the back. One way I can usually tell when going across my land with my husband and stuff is you will actually see trails, well-worn trails, like they literally will walk in the same pattern over and over again underneath fences and through pastures, and you can actually see their footprints. And like I said, 9 times out of 10, if you follow those trails, you might end up finding a group of them. So a good way to keep them out of the waterways is if you have like a small amount of area or land or whatever, you can fence off that area to try to keep hogs. No fencing is 100% proof. You can add in electric fencing at the bottom, and that helps tremendously with the electric fence. Keep adding riparian areas because when they waller out the land and they root it up, they're going to cause so much issues to where you have erosion on your land. And then, of course, the more erosion you have, the more runoff you have, and the more runoff you have, the more the fecal matter gets into our water systems. Trapping, trapping's, a big thing that happens in our area. You have box traps, you have corral traps. The doors on the front of the traps makes a big difference on how they're caught, and I'll show you a picture in just a second. Snares. So if you have a trail that's actually going underneath your fence line, you can set up a snare on that trail and catch one that way. And of course, shooting and hunting. We have a lot of people that actually run dogs and shoot and hunt feral hogs in our area. So here again is the fencing options. It shows this is a netted wire fence. The netted wire tends to keep them out better, along with the electric fence lining on the bottom. They, like I said, no fences 100%. They will root underneath it until they basically knock it over. They damage property all the time that way. But you could actually reduce feral hog movement by 65% by fencing off areas going toward water systems and things like that, or protect your property by fencing around your property. So again, landowners, y'all are the first line of defense for this. Riparian area management, like adding a lot of different buffer zones, riparian zones and stuff, that improves our water quality tremendously. The plants will actually filter the water before the fecal matter and all of that get to our water bodies. So the more plants that we have, the more riparian area you have, the more trees, the more natural that you have, the more filtering that's going on and the less contaminants that actually get into our water, and improves our water quality. So I can't stress it enough to make sure that if you have a raw area with a lot of exposed soil, to plant that riparian stuff, get with a local extension agent, a local Sea Grant person in your area, and they can help you plan that out if you need be. So here's a good example of how the runoff runs into the riparian area before it actually hits the stream. So those plants, like I said, are helping keep that contaminants, those E. coli or coliforms, out of our water systems. And you can see the percentages over there. The E. coli, it could reduce it anywhere from 58 to 99% if you create a well enough buffer zone for that area. Here's some example of trapping. If you have a pet alligator, no, I'm just kidding. I just like throwing that picture in there because in my area, we're the alligator capital of Texas, and you actually will find alligators eating feral hogs. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But on the top there, that's a box trap. And then on the bottom, that's a corral trap. And like I said, these, the doors on the front of these make all the difference. Feral hogs are very smart. And if you trap them the same way over and over again, they can outsmart your trap. So just don't get them trapped. I guess you call it trap shy, where the doors like hit them and they run the other way, they won't come back. So, but the corral traps are really good for catching a bunch of hogs at one time. So if you're wanting to get rid of a bunch of hogs at one time, you can put up one of those corral traps, the box traps, so you can catch one or two at a time. Our AgriLife specialist that deals with feral hogs, his motto is no hog should leave a trap alive. You also shouldn't transport live hogs from county to county either. Like I'm going to show you different agencies that you can call to get help with this if you're just a local homeowner and you trap it and you don't want to have to do the getting rid of yourself. So Wildlife Service has many different types of traps on their websites that you can look at, but the biggest thing you need to think about is safety. If you put a trap on your land, think about safety as far as like if you have children around in your area and stuff like that, can they get caught in these kinds of traps and things like that too? So always think of safety first before setting a trap. Ask a specialist or an extension agent or somebody that could help you find the best traps or ways of getting rid of hogs in your area. And maybe come up with a good place to put these things so that there's no safety issues with people or other animals. So here's some agencies involved in feral hog management in Texas. As I said, like the Texas Animal Health Commission is one that is for transporting. So if you have hogs in traps, you can call them and they will help you get rid of them if you're not wanting to do the killing yourself. Texas Parks and Wildlife, your local extension agents can help you. All of these different agencies have this information on their website. So if you look on their websites, that has many different things you can look at. Like I said, traps, what to do, what you can't do, and all of that good stuff. So in conclusion, hogs are affecting our water bodies. They are adding a lot of bacteria to our waterways because they're rooting up our waterways. They are causing a lot of erosion issues. The landowners, y'all are the first line of defense in feral hog management. And just make sure that you know your options and decide which practices is best to implement on your property in your area. So that is all that I have. So we have questions or anything like that. Feel free to answer some of those.
I think there's a question in the chat box, Nikki.
Let me look.
And while you do that, I'm going to send out our last poll if our attendees wouldn't mind filling that out.
How many feral hogs do we have average per acre in Texas? Well, that just, honestly, I don't know the answer to that question. Every area in Texas is different. There are some areas in Texas that don't have a feral hog problem. Our area in Texas, we have a tremendous feral hog issue. Like I said, I had 80 in my backyard. So I don't know what the average is. I would have to actually look that up. So. But if you don't mind answering the little post-event question, and if you'll have any more, make sure that you put your questions in the chat box. And I'll, like I said, I'm not a feral hog specialist. I'm just around them a lot, and I know a few feral hog specialists, and I get to talk with them and learn many different things. So, and I appreciate all of you joining me today for this. So. Somebody saw some hunting dogs with protective vests, and yes, we have like our hunting dogs, a lot of them wear the protective vest too, because hogs are very aggressive and they will attack. And that's something else you need to consider as a landowner also is if you're walking out in the field and you see a hog and you get between a hog or a mama sow and her babies, she's going to be protective mama. So always keep that in mind. Safety first. Try to get away from the hogs if you can, because they do attack sometimes. So has there been any talk of aware of feral hog related diseases? Like I said, the brucellosis and stuff, that's affecting our livestock. there's, like I said, there's 50 communicable diseases that are transmittable between hogs and humans and things like that. So we have to be very careful with eating them or drinking and stuff like that. So with more and more solutions being about landowners dealing with situations themselves, it seems like more exposure. I am not sure of the exposure of people with diseases. I did not look up that information, but I would imagine that there is a chance of more and more people getting exposed to that if they're around them. One of the, like I said, our specialist is always stressing about wearing protective gear with hunters because hunters don't think they'll barehanded actually processing these hogs. And we have heard of some of them actually getting sick with diseases. So you have to be careful. Is there any more questions?
There's one question in the Q&A box down at the bottom.
Yes, you can kill hogs any time of the year without a hunting license. That is correct. Just be careful when hunting that we don't accidentally shoot the wrong thing or shoot each other. So
And then Tony asked if there are hog dogs in Texas. Do you know if there are?
yes, there are a lot of hog dogs in Texas. Actually, my neighbor has about 30 of them across the street from me. So people actually train dogs to hunt and trap feral hogs. And so that is a big thing that is going on in our area. They will, trap the hogs and then the hunter will come along and shoot them. So. Dustin. Yes, you need to show that you're clearly hunting hogs if you get caught with a rifle. So yes.
Awesome. Do you guys have any more questions? Ooh.
There are people, yes, that hunt hogs with drones. My husband is one of those. He actually sends the drone out and looks for trails and will actually look for the hogs. My family's rice farmers, so we will have many hogs out in the rice fields. And he's able to actually see hogs in the rice field with his drone and know exactly where to go hunt them. So it's pretty neat. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us, and hope to see you all on the next Seaside Chats in a couple of weeks, correct?
Yes. Thank you so much for coming, Nikki. That was such a cool chat. I learned a lot. That was so cool.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for coming. See you next time. All right. Bye.